what exactly is the Nigerian dream? We have the Nigerian Constitution handed down by colonial masters and years of military administration, revised and retweaked and everything. But the question is that all that Nigeria needs to have solid structures in place? Is that all that Nigeria needs to dictate or to set a standard for what every Nigerian life should look like, what living in Nigeria should look like? Well, this morning, we'll not be having that conversation alone because we have Professor Remi Shonaya. She's a professor of French language and linguistics at Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife. And of course, in 2015, she ran on the platform of Kowa Party as the first female presidential candidate in Nigeria. You're welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
So we are heading into this conversation.
Definitely. And we'll go straight into asking what do you think the Nigerian dream is?
How would you define it?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, maybe two quick things. I'm no longer with the Obafemi Awolowo University.
Okay.
I took a voluntary retirement in 2010. To go into politics. So that bridge has been
clear. Okay, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
Now, what is the Nigerian dream? I'd like to say that first of all, we should recognize maybe two levels of a dream. There is the rather, low-level, pedestrian, basic level. How I wish I had food on my table. How I wish I had the money to send my children to school. Oh, how I wish our hospitals would be better. Our roads would be better. That's a kind of dream, but it's really quite elementary, I would say.
Yes.
Because especially as far as we are concerned in Nigeria, and I think all around the world, we have the things to make those kinds of dreams become reality. So on the long run, we shouldn't really be calling those things dreams as such, because as human beings, we have the ability, to transform our environment. Okay, your environment is hot, you think of a way to make it cooler. You invent fans and air conditioners. Your environment is cold. You think of a way to make it warmer. You invent a heater and things like that. We have that capacity as human beings. So it's not really, too much of a high and lofty dream. All right. And then there is that next level of a dream, which is something that is not related to your immediate needs, circumstances, or situation. And then you see a big mountain in front of you and you say, I wonder what is on the other side
of this mountain.
Of that mountain. So I'd like to get there and see. Right? Yes. Your immediate survival does not depend on it. Okay. So I'd like to say that, unfortunately, we have reduced the Nigerian dream to
the first the mundane one.
So that most of us are just dreaming about making it, about just getting food on the table, pay the school fees, house rent, imagine a better environment for ourselves and things like that. These are dreams that are really, really within our reach to achieve. Because as human beings, we can. We have been built with the capacity, to have impact upon our environment. So it's taking us too long to get, to attain that level. So we are not yet, dreaming the loftier dreams. The dreams, to go to the moon, that's a real dream. That's a real dream. Unfortunately, most of us Nigerians are still at that very low level of dreaming.
So is this to say that we can't place our hands on what the Nigerian dream should be? Is this to say that we can't have a cohesive definition of what the Nigerian dream should be. If on the level, every Nigerian is just out there on the surface, just substance, does that mean that we can't get to a stage where we leave the sustenance and just cleave to, okay, what's the next thing? What's behind?
I think that you are hitting on something that's quite important, because usually what happens is that a leader should be able to sell a dream, a vision. Leaders, I would say in general, should be able to sell a vision, a lofty ideal, a goal to the people. I would say that we used to have a dream. Definitely, I would say we keep referring to late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He had a dream. Without that dream, you would not have had a building like Cocoa House.
Yes.
You would not have had the WNTV, the first television station in Africa. So obviously, there was the desire to take that region to some place. Free education, mobilizing millions of children to go to school, and all of them, being taken care of. That was a dream. Working towards making, that region an educated region, and a leader in some sense, at least in Africa. So that was a dream. Unfortunately, I think our dream was truncated, and now we plummeted to this level of the bread and butter and survival level of dreaming, and it has made people even to become rather cynical. I read somewhere somebody saying, if you just manage to survive in Nigeria, you have attained the Nigerian dream. That is not worthy of us. That's not worthy of us. I believe that we are made for much greater stuff than that. And you know that Nigerians are great achievers in all fields of human endeavor. All over the world, Nigerians are doing incredible things. So we must begin to dream of how we can become great achievers at home as well.
Okay, so you talked about our dream being truncated. What do you think actually caused that? What truncated our dreams as Nigerians?
I would not hesitate to lay the majority of the blame at the foot of the military.
Okay.
That the military came in and, just basically wiped off all the progress that we were trying to make, suspended the Constitution, gave us another Constitution, did not continue that pace of development that we had seen. I was in the university when, under the military government, we were not being, the universities were not being properly sponsored, were funded. The teachers were being paid peanuts. That was the time when the Lecturers Union, ASU, used to say, our take-home pay cannot take us home. I was earning a salary that was lower than my cousin's driver. And I had a PhD. My cousin called me one day and said, Remy, how much are you earning? And I told him, I said, you are earning less than my driver in Lagos. And here was I with a PhD from one of the best universities not even in Nigeria, in America, Cornell University. So I think that, there was this onslaught against us, against the public. It was as if there was a deliberate attempt to bring us down, and we then became just people who had to find ways to survive, to put food on the table.
That's when we plunged to that
we could
survival.
not take those things for granted anymore. You should be able to take your survival needs for granted for you to be able to dream loftier dreams.
What do you think can be done to ensure that, be it as it may, in as much as we are trying to dream loftier and all of that, to ensure that we at least leave that survival mode?
I'd respond by saying, first of all, that that's the reason that I left the university.
Okay.
You see, I had complained and written about these matters for years before I finally decided to leave. It just dawned on me around 2008 that, hey, because here was I teaching in the Obafemi Awolowo University, the same university where I had been a student in the 70s, University of Ife. And the students I had before in front of me could not begin to dream of having the kind of experience that I had had. And I found that unacceptable. And I thought, this is not supposed to be. Things are supposed to get better normally. Because, I would go back to the institutions where I had studied or I had visited, abroad and things like that. And if you went from year to year, you found improvements. In our own case, everything just,
went backward,
was degrading more and more. And it just occurred to me that it's the politicians that determine the quality of our lives. That realization came to me in 2008. It just hit me like a bombshell. These guys determine how we live. Whether we have good roads, good schools, hospitals, and things like that. Oh, many of us are like our own, local government authority, providing your water, you dig your borehole, you buy your generators and things like that. But I can't tar every road that I will travel on.
Yes.
And I know what pains I go through each time I move from Ife to Lagos, like I had to do yesterday, the state of the roads and so on. So we cannot do all of that. I can't build all the schools that my children will attend. All right. So I then decided that we needed different kind of people handling our affairs. That I don't hesitate to say, it's like good people have for far too long,
remained on the sidelines.
Exactly. Run away from politics. So I said, I think something needs to be done. And, why not begin with myself, since I was the one who was having this idea, this recognition anyway. I discussed it with my husband. He said, go ahead. So I wrote my letter of resignation. I think that we must all work to take back the public space. And even those of us who are not, I'm not saying everybody should become a politician or resign from your job, like me. I'm saying all of us should begin to fight for our lives.
But Ma, there's so much bureaucratic jargon that stands in the way of every second you are trying to make something better. Every second, for instance, even if you want to just fill a little pothole around your house on one small street, you still have to go through a lot of bureaucratic.
I know. Every day you come across things that are set up to discourage you. Yes. That will make you feel like, oh, you are just wasting your time. You are just hitting your head against a wall. But I tell myself, so what's the alternative? What's the alternative? So you fall back and you retreat and you cross your hands and say, it's not going to. We will keep shouting and writing and, trying.
How do we help, Ma? Sorry to cut in, but how do we help the ordinary, everyday Nigerians who are out there struggling for basic survival to even get to that point where they know that, okay, regardless of this discouragement, we are going to push forward? Because that's actually what's going to drive the dream.
Okay, let me tell you something that is happening as a fallout of the 2019 elections.
Okay.
right now, you know that more people, sort of from the society, not from the typical political, so-called political class,
yes,
who sort of feel entitled, to the resources, to the wealth of the nation. More people came out.
Yes.
Your Yele Showore,
yes,
your Professor Fela Durotoye, Professor Mogalu, and things like that. So that's already an indication. What I want to say is that since then, given the outcome of the elections, where we see that people are recognizing, because it's still the political class that won. All right? People are recognizing that, we have serious work to do in terms of changing our people's mindset. So there must be, and there are already great efforts being done at addressing the people themselves. Most of us do not have the capacity to make the decisions that make for, an improved quality of life for ourselves, because our energies are spent on just trying to survive. So there is that great work to be done in terms of, citizenship education, for instance. And then there is great work to be done in terms of changing some of our laws. Honestly, we have electoral laws and, things that are rigged for maintaining the status quo. So, I don't want to be mentioning names and things like that, but efforts are on. And all of us must get interested in those things. If we don't get those things right, we are not going to be able to move. So it will just be, we're rolling in circles. You say, all I have to worry about my food and things, so I don't have time, for reflecting on Nigeria and greater, loftier dreams and so on. But then it means you will forever remain at that level.
Hello there. Did you just enjoy that beautiful video? Don't worry, we have more for you. All you have to do is click on the subscribe button and ring that little bell for more notifications. Tea or coffee will be served for you.
Most of us do not have the capacity to make the decisions that make for, an improved quality of life for ourselves, because our energies are spent on just trying